office too.
Yeah, that was a really long train journey. But this week was a really good week. I had a lot of fun. I was at a training course in Manchester. It was all about sales training, a technique, and how to be on the phone, all this kind of stuff. And yeah, there was a lot of stuff, especially about myself, that I learned again. Also, I have to apologize. This is actually the third week, not the second, because the second week was very much like the first. I found out how little I know about anything and just sort of continued my research into what I'm supposed to be doing for my job. But this week, I went on this course and it was all about sales specific techniques, and it was really hard, but totally worth it. I think probably the most important thing that I learned was that I'm an extrovert. Yeah, I know, who knew, right? But we actually took a personality test and we sort of learned how the 4 different personality types interact with each other and how they like to receive information. So, in fact, I'm just going to read it out because it's just really interesting. Okay, so the 4 different types are amiable, pragmatist, extrovert, and analyst. And so we'll start with the amiable. The amiable person likes small talk, non-threatening, they're non-competitive, they're not very time conscious, they ask rather than they tell, congenial, supportive, helpful, compliant, risk avoiding, cautious to act but open. Quiet, responsive, thoughtful, people-oriented, and willing. Generally soft-hearted, the kind of people who prefer to collaborate with teams of people but not really to be in charge. Then there's the pragmatist. The pragmatist is action-oriented, tough-minded, always in a hurry, dislikes small talk, short attention span, commanding, efficient, competitive, demanding, task-oriented, logical, serious, decisive, impatient, does it their way, generally unfeeling, takes risks but based on facts and focuses on the bottom line. So the kind of people who are just absolutely no bullshit and hate small talk and just think, okay, I'm gonna do this, let's just plow on through and get it done. Then there's the analyst, which is dependable, trustworthy, logical, analytical, thorough, reflective, conservative, good at timekeeping, accurate, data-oriented, that's really important, quiet, reserved, austere, cooperative, quite stern, critical, hesitant, slow to act or change, asks rather than tells, and quite risk-avoiding. So this is the kind of people who are very, very detail-oriented, like engineers, mathematicians, scientists, who look at facts and want to know all of the things to do with whatever problem they've got, and they want to know all the tiny little details that people like me who are extrovert generally don't care for. And this is what the personality profile said: I am disproportionately extrovert. I think I came out as the second highest in the class, which I'll try to read this out, and if you know me you'll realize that it's just no surprise to anyone. So apparently an extrovert like myself is outgoing, enthusiastic, intuitive, excitable, stimulating, fun-loving, imaginative, talkative, caring, emotional, non-time conscious, opinionated, yeah, personable, competitive, asks but tells rather than asks, has a big ego, talking to a camera by myself, of course I do, dramatic, impulsive, and takes risks based on opinion. Like the opinion that anyone's going to watch this. But yeah, there are a lot of things I learned from that, and I learned about the people around me. Once you realize those kinds of facts about friends, family, people you meet, acquaintances, whatever, you sort of realize, oh crap, these people, I've been treating them in the wrong way. I've been acting around them in a way that's not conducive to a good lasting friendship or whatever. And I think everyone should do these personality tests, just so you understand how you are supposed to relate to other people and how you can package information so that they will understand it, because that's a really important skill for everyone to have. One of the other really important things I learned is that I do not retain information well. I think this is why I watch a lot of stuff on YouTube, or I try and read as many books as I can, like all this kind of stuff, because it takes a while sometimes for information to process in my brain. If I read a book or if I watch something on YouTube, generally it'll take a few days for me to put that into some kind of context so I remember it, because your brain always relies on little memory hooks for you to sort of hook into information, so because it's all associative memory. I also found out that I do a very, very good rendition of Bar Bar Black Sheep. If you were there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Thanks, Scarlett. The other thing I found out that I kind of knew before but didn't realize to the extent that I am good at this is that I am really, really good at taking objections face to face. One of the exercises we did for this training course was everyone has to do a group presentation, and at the end you ask questions. And the questions were pretty brutal, actually. The trainer was condescending and aggressive and belligerent, all on purpose, obviously, just to see how would we react and if we would rise to a challenge and turn it into an argument. I did really well. I was very happy with myself. I stood my ground, and I, took all of her arguments, and I didn't turn it into a fight or anything, and I essentially shut her down. Although part of me is thinking that she actually did believe what she was saying, and then later on just went, oh yeah, I wondered if you'd stick to your guns. Very sure she didn't understand how molecules work, but that's a different thing. One of the other things we had to do was we had to have a phone call, essentially selling a product to someone, and that was tough. I talked last week about comfort zones and coming out of your comfort zones and how it's really important, but I've never done anything like this before, and it was really difficult, but something I think I can be okay at in the future. My shoulder's really killing me. This is what happens when you're a fencer. You get weird random shoulder pains because it's a very asymmetric sport. But yeah, this call was very, very useful to me because I hadn't realized before how difficult it is to talk to someone over the phone if you have a set of things to say. Because think about it, normally, if you're going to speak to someone over the phone, it's a friend, it's a family member, it's, not that stressful a situation. Whereas if it's someone on the other end who you've never met, and who's possibly going to be quite aggressive and belligerent towards you as a result of your call, yeah, it can be quite nerve-wracking. But I think I handled it quite well. And as it turns out, I have a silky smooth voice for radio and phone calls, which I'm very happy about. I think probably the most interesting thing of the trip though was finding all of these people from just vastly different backgrounds coming together and actually forming a group in a very short amount of time. I think I looked around the group and pretty much everyone had a different accent from wherever they were from, and everyone just got on so well. I've never really experienced that before, even in uni or wherever, because even in uni, you're in a place where everyone is pretty similar to you. Everyone's from a kind of similar background, has kind of similar education to you, very similar aspirations, all this kind of stuff. Whereas being in this environment, where everyone was from literally everywhere, yeah, it was really interesting. It was really nice to see. I was really glad. I did kind of screw up though, halfway through the week. My boss asked me for daily emails, and I did the second one on the Tuesday, but I was so busy the whole time, it did completely slip my mind. And on the Friday, he did send me, on the Thursday, he sent me an email just being like, so, no daily emails then? And I basically shat myself. In my defense, I was so tired every day I was going to bed at 10 o'clock, which is super unusual for me. But no, there's no excuse. It's something I need to work on in the future. Always look at the follow-up, always make sure I've got a list of some kind, like these are the things I need to do. Whether that's going to be a printed list or of me like WhatsApping myself, I've yet to decide. But again, it goes back to last week. I've got to find ways and structures and habits and plans to sort of make myself or my life a bit easier. I think that's probably my challenge for next week, and I'll tell you how it goes.